Alright, let's get started for our first lesson from Astronomy and Space Science, Chapter 1, Earth, Moon, and Sun, the sky from Earth. Okay, so you can follow along and see where I am in the textbook. This should hopefully help. Okay, so the first thing I want to tell you is every single time I bring the word on the screen, because in this section it looks like we're mostly doing 6 vocabulary words, I'm going to try to bring it a little more visual and go through some things you can pick up different from just using words from the glossary. So the first word here is planet. An object that orbits a star, is large enough to have become rounded by its own gravity, and has cleared the area of its orbit. So I've underlined some words here that I think are kind of important, in that will help us bring this out so it's not just reading the definition. So orbit is a path that any object can take. In this case we're talking about the planet, and it's going to go around a star, and that star in this case is our sun. It has to be large. That's very important. Okay, so the size of the planet needs to be big, and that's how we define the planet. It has to be round in shape, and the way it becomes round is because of that pull towards the center, and that pull in creates the shape, that rounded shape. And this part right here, cleared the area of its orbit, so meaning that it's so large that nothing gets in its way. So it's cleared the path that it's taking around, in this case, our sun. We have 8 planets. Okay, just let me add that in, just so we have extra parts. Here's the notes. 8 planets. Okay, and we'll get into things like Pluto, and other things about why we're recognizing 8 planets and all the other planets that might be discoveries and new things out there. But for now, we're just going to jot down there are 8 planets. Now, something else that's pretty special about this and these 8 planets is that without a telescope, there are 5, and I'm just going to put them under here, that we can see without a telescope. Saturn, Venus, I'm not putting these in order, Mars, Jupiter, and Mercury. So this section, remember, this is about the sky from Earth. So looking out from Earth, we can see these 5 planets without a telescope. And that's a really good fact to jot down. Okay, so without a telescope. Okay, there are 2 planets here that, whether you know it or not, it's okay, but maybe if you're interested, and we'll talk about it in class, that are not listed here, and that is because we need to see them with a telescope. Okay, so let's go on to the next word. The next word we're going to look at is satellite. Okay, let me just put this and get this in view and get this up. And of course, the first thing I think we'll read. An object that orbits a planet. Notice under here I put a little bullet because a moon is a natural satellite, and we only have the Earth has 1 moon. Okay? That's really in another section, but let's put that down. Okay, so we have man-made satellites. All right, and there's a difference between that, but a man-made satellite and a natural satellite like the moon, they will do the same thing. They will follow this definition. They will orbit around, in this case, that planet we're talking about is our planet, the Earth. But we can put that also in perspective later when we're talking about the other planets and the moon or a lack of moons that they have, and the difference between that. Okay, so that's what a satellite is, and it could be man-made, it could be natural, and it must orbit around a planet. Okay, that's the key thing. And we can actually let's take our pencil here. I'm going to use an orange. I hope that's... Okay, so it must orbit around, here's the key thing, the planet. Okay, the next word is meteor. So a meteor is a streak of light in the sky produced by the burning of a meteoroid in the Earth's atmosphere. So we see this, you might say something like, I don't know if anybody's ever said this, I've seen shooting stars. Okay, so a shooting star, really what you're seeing, and you can see meteors anytime, okay, because it's just the burning up of the meteoroid, and it's coming through our atmosphere, and as it burns up, it looks like it's, perhaps like to some people, I think it looks like a star, and people sometimes try to make a wish on that. Okay, so that's something that you can see quite often, okay, and sometimes there's a shower of these, and that's kind of something nice to see. This one, the comet, is very rare. Okay, that's what we need to write down. That's the note. These are rare to see. And it's a loose collection of ice and dust that orbits the sun, typically in a long, narrow orbit. Okay, see this word here, orbit. So it's going around, okay, and it's orbiting the path, and the path it's taking is around the sun. Okay, and again, maybe we should grab our colored pencil here and then underline some of those key things. Okay, so ice, it's a collection of ice and dust. Okay, so collection of ice, dust, and that it's going to orbit around the sun, and this is rare to see. Okay, but again, these are some things that can be seen from Earth, and so that's why it's on the list. Okay, so something else on our list, and we can see, is a star. Okay, and the definition we have from the back of our book is that it's a ball of hot gas, primarily hydrogen and helium, that undergoes nuclear fusion. Okay, so this shape right here, this is key. The shape of it, it's a ball, hot gas, and we'll talk about this, the elements that it's made up of, when we talk about stars, and we have a whole unit on it, and how that comes together to two hydrogens fusing together and creating a new element, helium. So it's using up, and that's how it's fueling itself. Okay, and obviously we listed earlier the star that we have for our 8 planets is the sun. But when we're looking at stars, the interesting thing is that there's so much to think about, and normally we just think of them as tiny points of light. And from our point of view, that's what they look like. But really, stars can come in many colors, sizes, ages. All right. Stars, believe it or not, I'm just going to take out some colored pencils. They could be a dark blue, light blue. Okay, maybe not really those colors, but we say blue hot. And there's kind of 2 levels of blue hot. And we have white stars, yellow stars like our sun. We have orange stars, and we have red stars, of course. I just want to make sure, just for emphasis, red. So they can come in all of these different colors, okay, and I could actually draw them here in different sizes And then usually what scientists do when they get discovered is they'll give them different names. And this will be a whole different unit, but for now all you need to know is the basic definition. And you need to know these 2 additional notes here. And then that also, like we already mentioned, our sun is an example. Okay, it's a yellow star. Okay, our sun is an example of a star. It's a yellow star. All right, so let me get this out of view. And I think it kind of leads right into our last definition, which is constellation. A constellation is a pattern or grouping of stars that people imagine to represent a figure or an object. I'm not going to draw constellations, but what I am going to do, just like I did on the other sheets, I'm going to just go through some of the key things to kind of point out to you. So first of all, it's a pattern or grouping of stars. And people imagine these to represent a figure or an object. So it's more than just taking dots or looking at the stars like dots, I should say, and making them connect into a picture. It's not just that. It's a perspective, again, from outer space. And again, I just want to make sure this is clear. This is not a constellation. I just made some dots on the paper. But it's these dots are points of light, the little points of light that are stars. They've become really more than just patterns and stories that people have told. In the Western culture, we recognize 88 constellations. Most of the names are from Greece, the Greeks. And some things you might also know is that things that help us to, or an important star that helps us to find a lot of the stars is Polaris, known as the North Star. That is in Ursa Minor, known as the Little Bear. And this is kind of where I think constellations still can be recognized, an important part of astronomy, because the North Star is a star that we can find. It's a star that helps us locate a lot of the constellations. One of the stars that we can use, it's located close to the sky's North Pole. And we're going to talk about star trails and how that star appears to not move, if you will. And then the other stars will trail around. Okay, that's a whole different lesson and something we don't have to worry about noting. But that star, just to kind of put that down, the North Star is a star that helps us. It's in the handle of Ursa Minor in the Little Bear. And these stars are definitely important to talk about, and how that is a perspective that we see and that people have, recognizing that it is a part of people's culture, grouping these together and they making a figure, and what that also means for travel, for finding locations, for finding the stars and understanding the perspective that we see from Earth looking out at the night sky at these stars. Okay, I hope that was helpful, and I hope in your notebook it's filled with lots of information, and we will go over what we've talked about here. Thank you so much.